Hello and welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Mayhem YouTube channel. Today we are going to look at WCW Nitro episode number 2. This show took place on September 11th, 1995 in Miami, Florida at the Knight Center. Eric Bischoff tells us that Hulk Hogan will defend his WCW World Heavyweight Championship against the Total Package Lex Luger in the main event. He says we'll see Scott Norton in action and also the debut of Sabu. I think he meant Sabu. Silly Eric Bischoff. Steve Mongo McMichael and Bobby the Brain Heenan are also at the commentary table. They talk about Lex Luger showing up out of nowhere last week on the first episode of WCW Monday Nitro. They show a video of what happened last week between Lex Luger and Hulk Hogan. They also mention that Vader will not be at the pay-per-view that Sunday because he's gone AWOL. Our first match of the night is Sabu taking on Alex Wright. They do some arm drags early on. Sabu did a head scissors to Alex Wright, sending them both out of the ring. And then as Alex Wright was getting up, Sabu gave him a baseball slide. Sabu hit a beautiful senton over the top rope onto Alex Wright. Still on the floor, Sabu whips Alex Wright into the guardrail. Sabu sets up a chair outside the ring and goes for a running jump, but Alex Wright moves and that sends Sabu into the guardrail. Wright hits him with some European uppercuts. He also hits him with a dropkick. Wright slams him on the floor and then goes back into the ring. Alex Wright hits a dropkick. They end up on the floor again, and Alex Wright then gives him an over-the-top splash. Sabu hit a back spring elbow. Wright does a backflip off the top rope and then grabs Sabu and hits him with a German suplex for a near fall. Sabu hit a flip of some sort and then pinned Alex Wright. This was a wild and fun match. I really enjoyed it. After the match, Sabu put Alex Wright on a table and then hit a move through it, and then the referee reversed the decision and Alex Wright won by disqualification. A graphic then appears on screen with Mr. Wallstreet and Sting saying that match is up next. Back from the commercial break, we see Mean Gene Okerlund in the ring and he calls out the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. My notes weren't really good for this segment, so I'm just going to skip it. It wasn't really interesting anyway. Eric Bischoff reminds us that this Sunday is WCW Fall Brawl War Games. We then go to our next match between Sting and Mr. Wallstreet, and it's for the WCW United States Championship. While Sting was coming to the ring, Eric Bischoff said, "If you're thinking about turning to the competition, don't bother. Shawn Michaels is going to beat the big guy with a super kick. That show is about 3 weeks old. Stay here with us because we are live." At one point, Sting gave Mr. Wallstreet 2 drop kicks and then Mr. Wallstreet backed up into a corner. He whipped him hard into the turnbuckle and then Mr. Wallstreet powdered out of the ring. As Sting was running toward him, Mr. Wallstreet gave him a back elbow. Sting hit a stinger splash and then climbed to the top turnbuckle. He hit a flying crossbody off the top for the pin to retain the WCW United States Championship. They announced that Disco Inferno is making his debut on WCW Saturday. We'll also see Renegade taking on Max Muscle. Big Bubba Rogers will take on Dave Sullivan. Brian Pillman will take on Alex Wright. Next up, we have Scott Norton taking on Macho Man Randy Savage. Scott Norton attacked him as soon as he got in the ring. Norton picked him up in a double hand choke and then tossed him. Macho Man eventually fires back and clotheslines Scott Norton to the floor. Randy Savage climbed to the top rope, jumped off with a flying axe handle onto Scott Norton, who was on the floor. Savage climbs to the top again, and he goes for an axe handle, but Scott Norton grabs him in a bear hug. Norton works over Savage's back with forearms. Scott Norton gives him a big power bomb for a near fall. Norton then grabs Randy Savage and gives him some rib breakers before tossing him to the mat. Savage gets up, bounces off the ropes, and Norton gives him a power slam. Savage bounces off the ropes again, and Norton gives him a big shoulder tackle, knocking him out of the ring. Norton grabs him and gives him a rope-assisted DDT. The Dungeon of Doom then run down to the ring. Savage tosses Norton, hitting Avalanche, knocking him down on Orton's legs. Norton is stuck because Avalanche is on his legs, so he can't move. Randy Savage then climbs to the top rope and hits an elbow smash onto the stuck Scott Norton for the pin and the win. The rest of the Dungeon of Doom run down to the ring and Savage bails. Our next match is the Total Package Lex Luger taking on Hulk Hogan for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Early on, Hogan did a drop toe hold takedown and then put Lex Luger into a half Nelson on the mat. Hogan gave Lex Luger a snap suplex, and immediately Lex Luger got back up, no selling it. Then Lex Luger gave Hulk Hogan a snap suplex, and Hogan no sold it and got right back up. They wrestle some more, and then Lex Luger gives him a power slam, and then he calls for the torture rack. Lex Luger puts him in the torture rack. The referee raises his hand twice and his arm falls. He goes to lift it again, it doesn't fall. Lex Luger releases the hold, thinking that he won. The referee says the match is not over. Luger goes for a pinfall, but Hogan kicks out. Hogan then starts to Hulk up. Hogan goes to pin him, but before he can, the Dungeon of Doom come out and run into the ring. They beat down Hogan. Randy Savage and Sting run down to clear the ring. Luger and Hogan push each other as they go to a commercial. Back from commercial, we see Hulk Hogan and Lex Luger and Randy Savage and Sting in the ring, along with Gene Okerlund. Okerlund says the Hulkamaniacs are down to 3 men at War Games. Hulk Hogan asks Luger why the Dungeon of Doom didn't attack him. Randy Savage wants to know as well. Sting suggests that all 4 men be a team at War Games. Randy Savage says nay nay. Sting says he votes Luger into big team because he wants to win War Games. Savage wants to know why Sting and Jimmy Hart were attacked by the Dungeon of Doom. Hogan asks if they want Lex Luger to be Vader's replacement. Sting says yes, and the fans begin to cheer. They say Hogan has the last vote. Hogan asks Luger if he wants to be the 4th member of the Hulkamaniacs. Luger says he will, but he wants a title shot that Hogan had promised him earlier. Bischoff says we'll see Johnny B. Bad taking on Mr. Paul Orndorff. The Nasty Boys and the American Males will fight on WCW Main Event. Winners will face the Blue Bloods on next week's Monday Nitro. That's it for this video. Don't forget to subscribe.